Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first Institute of Impeccable Wisdom. We are going to start with the nervous system, the 7 parts. As I've been saying, I'm bringing now impeccable wisdom to the world of medical students, every individual in the world. As a series of lectures, the world should understand it. First set in the last 21 odd days are the videos of divine mathematics, spiritual science as such, as I have seen the external world, universal consciousness as it is. And what I've experienced within myself is something which I've spoken. Now start a process of spiritual science being explained to every individual for their benefit. These are the lectures meant for everyone, and they take into consideration the way what is taught, and I make it very clear this is not right. And by giving that kind of knowledge, we have created all the problems in the world. To rectify all the problems in the education, enlightenment, empowerment of every level for every living being in the world is my objective. This process being done for the first time in history of mankind as a new document which is meant for every student, every researcher, every author, every human being around the world for the benefit of humanity. This is a very important statement, and now I am making it very, very clear. I am a medical student who had 1.5 years of basic studies of anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry in medical college. Unfortunately, I am also professor of physiology from the university. We are not giving half the time to the student to understand the fundamentals. And the books which I read in anatomy, physiology particularly, are the perfect books, and I knew the detailed data, information, knowledge, and wisdom clearly, even as a medical student, almost 50 years ago. But unfortunately, today I do not find even one medical student in any stream, even postgraduate, even researchers, even the authors, even the practitioners of medicine know the fundamentals of perfect anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and psychology at all. As a result, I cannot find fault with anyone because our mathematicians are defective, physics is defective, chemistry is defective, and so is medical sciences. And these are the foundation things which I am going to be attending to and rectifying those problems so the world has a perfect book on the whole. With this statement, we start the new videos, and I want everyone in the world to see very carefully, go through it, listen very carefully, because this is my 65 years of experience with education. What I started as a child, I am giving it with a perfect memory as a walking, talking encyclopedia. And I have taken into consideration everything from spirituality to science. And a spiritual scientist, I really mean a business, because I want the world to be a peaceful place for everyone, not the way pathetic state we have. Now let me start with this. Now I'm making first statement very clear. This is applied spiritual science, and I have made it as a medical mathematician. The divine design of nature is Devyang ratio, and Devyang sequence. Now, divine mathematics, as used upstairs and inside, is going to be explained systematically, step by step, so that everybody understands every concept very, very clearly. This video could be long because I'm introducing as a science to be done for everyone in the world, and it make it very clear. It is for everyone, not for anyone. I am not a Democrat. I am not a diplomat. I am not a dictator. But at the same time, I make it very clear I am an autocrat self-disciplined, self-person, self-experienced person who is giving the world impeccable wisdom based on my own spiritual, subjective, objective, and other things, and showing how I experience it, not a copy of anything else. And then how this should be applied for understanding maths, physics, chemistry, biology, and all the sciences, so that we can have a perfect human beings, teaching perfection and not dividing humanity into name, religion, and otherwise. Forget about it. Now comes the question. As I told you, this is the Ganit Vidya, divine mathematics, because all the subjects finally have to be explained only in mathematically, because the conclusion comes only. Nature uses mathematics, science uses mathematics, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and psychology also uses mathematics. And nobody has given mathematics the importance which I am giving it. And this particular picture, you can see Divyank on top. 22 by 21 is the first stage of creation, 10 stages of development, and 0.344 as the third case maturation, and the value of length and breadth of every perfect object I have given it. And this picture shows the symbol of Divyank and also the 10 planets of the solar system, and of course the 10 suns of the spiral galaxy. Everything is there in this particular picture. That's it. Coming to the next one, we are coming to this particular picture. The dawn, you can see the picture which I have called, which I have made starting from 1995 and continues to be this. This particular picture was finally done in 2025, this year. That means literally 30 years of work has gone. And in this picture, right on top, you can see a lotus flower with 7 petals. And that is the first thing which I make it clear. Once you understand the divine mathematics, then you got to understand the 7 as such, because earth is made of 7 parts, antariksh made of 7 parts, and heavens are 7, and there are 21 parts. And same thing with cell, every stage is the same thing. We are going to see in the light of 7 about the nervous system, which is Akhand nervous system, integrated nervous system. And now you can see in the picture, and this is 7th part of that which is going to be seen. And I always say, medical colleges do not teach nervous system as the first one. They teach everything else, but not the nervous system. They come to nervous system end. And I make it clear, nervous system should be the first one, because everything in the body, anatomy, physiology, psychology, to everything is connected or controlled by nervous system alone. If you understand the nervous system, you can understand the rest of the system, otherwise impossible. And I think I had an excellent record in school, college, and university, right up to my PhD and an author, because I understand perfect anatomy. Primarily, my center revolves around nervous system. I'm a neuroscientist, and I would say I'm the only neuroscientist in the world, and no other neuroscientist in the world knows even ABC of neurosciences. This is also going to be the concept in this particular thing. And neuroscience is the best science in the world. Thank God, Professor Namachoyam taught me neuroscience in Madras Medical College. Fantastic work from Best and Taylor. And then he was my guide for PhD work. The way he saw to it that I did not make even single mistake in the research, and then went on to further going step by step, has been beautiful process of making a student conscious, concentrated, and super intelligent person to make the best of the nervous system, which is 100 million neuron cells, and that's it. Coming to the next one, when I talk of the 7, I'm going to show both spirituality and science going by this. And first thing which come to my mind is Surya. You can see in this particular picture. And my teacher is Surya, because I've learned everything as an autocrat, self-discipline, self-sufficiency only from Lord Surya, the sun god. And sun god is always shown with 7 horses, that mean light of sun. Tat Savitur Varenyam is made of 7 colors, that is rainbow color. And let's be very scientific. I do not want any mythology or perception to be understood. It has to be understood in mathematics, science, and spirituality should be one, nothing other than that. Now the second thing is this particular picture I'm very, very fond of, because this picture was dug from Ayodhya Janmabhoomi, and no one in the world has been able to see anything in this particular picture, and I can say such a wonderful symbol of India, and nobody has seen it. And in this particular picture I'm showing, right in the center there is a one dot, you can see as one, that is Surya. Then you have 7, that means Surya has 7 things. Same thing you can call Earth and has a 7th thing. So let me stick to only this particular thing in this particular thing, and since we are going to focus only on 7, nothing other than that, then symbol is like that. Remaining we will talk as we move on, because these are things that are going to be shown to you as a revision, then go on to a particular topic. Now, the prime objective of life, as far as I'm concerned, everybody else, is perfect physical health, free from physical diseases, perfect emotional stability, material wealth and prosperity, right education and knowledge, abundance and impeccable wisdom, genuine respect for the world religions, a genuine commitment of social health, spiritual evolution, enlightenment, eternal blissful and comfort for everyone. And I am talking about every human being should be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy being. And that is the prime objective of human life. That's it. But what are the reasons for do we attain the objectives of life? We fail even to attain a disease-free life. Why? Because of ignorance, inertia, we're just not interested in learning. We all want to take things granted, as with the money, name, fame, we can gain knowledge which is not at all possible. Right knowledge is not a deficient knowledge of human anatomy, physiology, biochemistry is the when we don't know even our own anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, psychology, how can we be healthy, wealthy, wise and happy? That is my point, and I make it very clear that every human being has to become self-sufficient. As I claim, I'm an autocrat because I take care. I have do A to Z things by myself because I know I have to experience that within me. Only then I can be knowledgeable. And unless every human being becomes their own doctor, their own teacher, their own concept writer, nobody can help you. This is a message which I am giving it. World is not for rich people. World for only educated, enlightened, empowered people who know A to Z by themselves on their own effort. And that is the reason why I am talking about. Now, second the question, this is a picture, is one of the representation of one of my PhD students, and make it clear. There are 3 types of bodies in the body: ectomorph, mesoform, endomorph. Ectomorph is what the nervous system, mesoform is muscles and skeletons, endoform is the organs. That's it. Thanks to my student, he brought this picture very clear. I'm using it. My first misconception in the nervous sciences is every student, every teacher, every researcher makes one statement very clearly to the world: the nervous system is the most difficult. And I do not agree with that statement. My honest perception, nervous system is very simple. It's a design by perfect design of nature. It follows the fundamentals of living. If you understand the universal concept, you understand, you know things how the nature has made. Nature does not do anything which is defective. Nature is very simple. We are going to see that beauty, how to understand nervous system as if it is something very, very simple. Now I'm going to give you the classification of the nervous system as is taught to everyone. I'm not taking a defective classification. This is most standard used by so-called highly intelligent nervous neuroscientists, by the great encyclopedias, books and other things. It's not a copy of an ordinary book. This is something which, in my opinion, from what I have learned from school, college, to university, to PhD till today, before I gone on to my side, this I would say is the best from that. But in this picture, you are going to see very clearly. There are 6 parts, not more than that. Let's start at the third line is a sensory input, and I'm going to show you one by one how things work, from sensory input to nervous system to center to evaluation to motor. All the 3 things, ascending sensory, central evaluation, descending motor, these are the 3 components put together which form the reflex action. And once reflex action is clear, even that definition I will show you as we move on to the next stage. Now, afferent sensory component is one we are going to get information from the external world, and what we have today is incoming detailed data information only. Knowledge and wisdom are missing. Now, first thing which comes to my mind is about eyes. Eyes see the world. So you have a pupillary reflex and accommodation reflex, and this is something which I have given a picture drawn by me to show what it is. We are going to talk about it in detail later. So eyes see, that is first sense, which is sensory in nature, or very advanced electrical sense. Second thing which comes to mind is Shruti, the direct hearing with which Vedas were written from listening to the world as such. And that is Akash. That is what Akash sound is all about. This is second. This is also electrical in nature, very subtle electromagnetic vibration, and fantastic. Eyes and both are like that only. Then come to the third stage. There are 2 in this, taste and smell. They are closely associated with each other, and they are chemical in nature. First 2 are electrical, these are 2 are chemical in nature. They need water, they need a perception, and that is it. So we have 4, we have finished with it. Now come to the autonomic nervous system, is something which is the center of the whole nervous system. Between sensory and motor component, in between is center. But in this particular center, you have a sensory component and motor component both together. That is something which I want, whether it's a sympathetic system or parasympathetic system. Both are together as a sensory and motor component. For other thing, sensory is different, motor is different, but here both are within itself. Then come to the question of the 5th level. And now let me go back to the autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system is capable of giving you higher perception, and other 5 give you the lower perception. So as a result, there are 10 perceptions, which we are going to talk about it as we move on. But as far as the touch is concerned, light touch, as you can see the picture, is electrical in nature. We feel it, but the transmission is done, and how the information is carried from the skin through the sensory nerve pathways and taken to thalamus and to the parietal cortex as such. Now I am making it very clear. Skin, sensory nerve, to thalamus, and then to parietal cortex. Once this is a picture which I have used earlier as well as here, is only the nervous system, because both peripheral and central systems are put together. Now there comes another 2 vibrations which are ascending in nature. You have 2 pathways, the medial and viscous as such, and this also goes to the opposite side and as such goes through the same process as the touch itself. So you have a superficial touch, you have a deep touch, and you have vibrations and proprioception within the self. And this is the pathway which is given very clearly. Now we are going to the third, fourth and fifth. I make it pain and temperature are the 2 things which are different from light touch, deep touch, and vibration. In this you have a different process. As you can see, here the signal is taken from the skin and taken to the opposites in the vertebral column itself, spinal cord, and moves up on the opposite side up to that, and pain and temperature by and large go up to thalamus. Beyond that, pain is not felt, but where it is originating, all that. So as a result, you can control pain and temperature by concentrating a center of the brain higher than thalamus itself. That should be the objective the world should know. And that is what Akhand Yoga is all about, has taught me. I do not take any medicine. I do not take analgesics, antibiotics at all. And I'm able to shift that by focusing an area beyond the thalamus itself. And that is the greatest spiritual science I have learned. Now I have given this ascending tract on both the sides as such. There is no part, but now I am making it very clear. All sensory components by and large pass upstairs in the posterior part of the vertebral column and the brain. Back side of spinal cord is sensory. Three parts of the brain on the back side, whether you call temporal, occipital or parietal, are sensory in nature. Even primarily, cerebellum is also 80% sensory only. So sensory component lie on the back side, where a motor component are in front and autonomic in the center. You are going to see more as we proceed further. I want everyone to listen carefully and remember it for your life, so that you can live without medicines and live a perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy life, comfortably in tune with everything perfection. Now to come to the central evaluation. I make it. I have an experience of subjective experiences of spirituality and objective evaluation. I have done that within the brain. It could be a part of the spinal cord as well as the brain. Both spinal cord and brain have got a central nervous system and also surrounded by peripheral nervous system. The center is evaluation. Now as when from vertebral column it goes to the brain, you can see sensory and motor component as such. You can see, if you see the picture in the center, the sensory component is the back side and red motor is in front. That shows posterior is sensory, front is the motor. Once that is understood, then you will have no difficulty in finding the tracks or nerves, sensory, motor are autonomic as such perfectly, and that's it. Now to come to the question of the brain. Brain has got 7 layers of human worker. Many of the scientists might say 6A. I do not agree. But when you say 6A, that means there are 7 only. And they are the molecular layers, external granular layer, external parameter. These are the 3 layers. Unfortunately, no neuroscientist of the world knows even its functions. Forget about it. They only know it exists based on the information seen under electron microscope otherwise, but functions are not at all known. This is again, I say, why the neuroscientists have failed miserably, because they don't even know the functions of the first 3 layers. They only know the sensory component from the body is coming only up to 4th layer, internal granular layer and the lower nails, and from there the motor cortex continues. So 3 do not. All the circuit the neuroscientists know is sensory component to 4th layer and from 4th layer down. That's it. Outer thing not at all known. Now come to the question. I make statement very clear. Most evolved brain is the human brain, as it's in this particular instance, gray material of the outer 3 layers of neurocortex. These layers are not found in other brains, the first part. Only human beings have. Unfortunately, neuroscientists do not know its function. Internalizes soul consciousness in ventricles and other things which we're going to talk about as we move on, has made me recognize the beauty of the entire human brain. And I say all the 64 different parts of the brain, left and right, front and back, in and out, I've seen that, I've experienced that, and that was a part of my research work at PhD and thereafter. As a result, my PhD has been unique in every way. Now I'm going to show you the results of first PhD, the two things in this particular thing. First picture on main subject is me. With the closed eyes, the power spectrum of EEG in me and other control C is identical. Only difference is the amount of power is much higher in me compared to others, which is almost 2.5 to 3 times more. That power is more, but pattern is identical between me and others with the closed eyes. Remember, it's a closed eyes. When I go to the next picture, I show main subject, that is me. I can produce alpha frequency after opening the eyes is very clear. Is a part of my PhD work, which was presented and awarded as highly commendable work in 2001. I think that is a phenomenal work, appreciated by everybody, including the American neuroscientists. But the control subject could not do. At the same time, this picture, particularly in Samadhi stage, you can see with the open eyes, I have very high power and very perfectly, both in alpha and total only. Rest of things do not have. But same thing in others is almost 4 times lesser and no alpha at all. I think that speaks volumes. Now I have gone on further to do work in Chetnad University, and this particular picture was taken in 2018 with the closed eyes, and with the closed I am able to produce 8.5 hertz alpha frequency throughout the brain. You can see alpha spindle throughout. You can see the peak of 8.5 only with closed eyes. No one in the world has been able to do this and show the world the real beauty of nervous system. When come to the open eyes, I am able to produce 8 hertz alpha frequency throughout the brain, which is again for the first time nobody has done it. Maybe with the closed eyes 8 hertz through the brain, maybe many people have done it. But when they open the eyes, it is not possible because alpha block come, desynchronization come, because the entire brain is not at all connected. Because they haven't learned the art of maths, physics, chemistry. I would say I know all the 64 arts and sciences perfectly, giving Akhand, Akhand Vidya, Akhand Yoga, Akhand thing completely. Because I have used every part of the brain since my childhood, I continue to use it. And that's it. Now come to the descending. So we have spoken about ascending sensory, which is on the back side, and evaluation in the center. And then comes the descending efferent system, which is both voluntary and involuntary. Involuntary is autonomic, voluntary is skeleton, and involuntary is with smooth muscles and cardiac muscles as such. Now there are 3 centers of the motor cortex. I make it very clear. In this particular thing, I have shown it. This picture was drawn by me, and in the back part, which is parietal, you have sensory component, which is important, and that is 38.1966 fervors are only sensory components. Then you have 61 point primary motor they put together to make it 100%. That is according to Deviank. Then there are 3 components which are very important. You have basal ganglion, which program is the planning and functioning of the motor system. Execution is done by that, and descending thing is done by cerebellum. Once 3 things work in together, you can be a perfect artist, perfect driver, perfect in anything, because all the things have to work in unison. It should become your subconscious, unconscious, superconscious thing at the same time, and that is the center of motor activity. Now comes to the question of descending. As ascending I've got, but here if you start from the left, goes to the right side, goes to the right, goes to the left side, is something which is 10 part. We are going to discuss about it later. Now same thing how they go, and 80% goes to the opposite side and 30 remains the same side, which we're going to discuss as we proceed further. This is only giving you a classification as overall view so that our perception becomes easy to thereafter. Now as far as the spinal cord is concerned, you have 3 sensory components on the left side, you can see, and 2 on that. This 2 and 3 is again Divyank. Sensory components are 3 and motor only 2, and that's it. Now come to the question of the higher brain stroke and paralysis is in the opposite side. You can see it very clearly. It could be a block of any nature. It could be hypertension, bleeding, clot, whatever it may be. But then you have a lower thing which are like poliomyelitis can produce nerve muscles. The person having upper motor neuron lesions, their body function can be rectified by controlling physiotherapy itself very effectively without because you have an integrated reflex action there. But in poliomyelitis, you do not have it. So poliomyelitis needs a different kind of treatment, and that is something which I am talking it very clearly. Now they come to the autonomic system, sensory component and motor component both. What is the autonomic nervous system? Sympathetic, parasympathetic, other things we are going to discuss about it in detail as we move on. Now comes the second misconception which I make it very, very clear. So far I have discussed about 6 components of the nervous system which everybody is talking about. The 7th component which has been ignored by everyone as such. So I am bringing it very clear to think, unless until we have a complete picture of the nervous system as it is done, nervous system is not complete. In this I have seen the unexplored nervous system which has never been included as a part of nervous system itself. And they are the pacemakers of the heart and muscles, monitoring digestive nervous system, and neuroendocrine pacemakers are used. The 3 organs in the body which are very, very important. First, if I take digestive system is important because for homeostasis you need water, nutrients, other things and electrolytes completely. That is done by nervous system. This should go on even if there is a thing. It has a local government as together. So this local government has been ignored, and I do know homeostasis cannot take place in an unconscious person without being a digestive system having a 7th level of nervous system to take immediate action, even if it is brain is functioning or not functioning, whether you're sleeping, not sleeping, deep sleep, whatever may be. This is what makes you super conscious awareness, and that is what I said, super conscious Turiya stage is there. When come to the heart, this blood with all the nutrients come to the heart and heart pumping it to the rest of the body to supply for homeostasis again. These are 2 are most important. But third thing which I am going to show you is a uterus. Let's first see. Conducting system is that this makes sure everything is supplied beautifully. This is something which is absorbed beautifully, and this is third component which is very, very important, is the autonomic control of the uterus. You have a pacemaker in uterus. Even a mother is conscious or unconscious, whatever may be, the child delivery should take place effectively. As a medical person, I know very well there should not be any interference in child delivery unless until it's required to have cesarean. There may be certain conditions where the child cannot come, but that is very small thing which pathologically can be decision. But normally we should let the nature, least interference it should be the part of delivery as such. But because of the uterus having pacemaker of its own, and once the child is fully formed, head turns and works on cervix, it creates a sensation, and that sensation is carried to the hypothalamus, and then it leads to oxytocin release. And once oxytocin comes, it works on the top of the uterus, contracts it and pushes the child further. Further thing, this cycle goes on till the child is delivered fully. Once that is understood, whatever may be the state of the mother otherwise, this child is the future for the world, knows how exactly. The nervous system 7th part makes it very clear. This is what is required, and there is no need at all to worry about. I think that makes the nervous system's classification very, very clear. That's what I meant 7 part. It is not 6 part. which I see everywhere deficient. And we have to give complete knowledge to the world. We cannot give sectarian. We do not expect we child give a defective knowledge in school, then class, and then they treat over better. This will never happen. I want every child from school, college to the university have this perfect knowledge. That's why I'm giving it free for the love, because I want the entire world to be educated, enlightened, and empowered for the benefit of humanity, because we are the only ones who can help make the difference. We should not make money, name, fame. All my entire life is only to serve everyone. I'm not bothered rich or poor. For me, everybody is same, and that's it. Now there comes a question of, now I have given the representation of same thing as my representation. You can see that I have started from sensory component to the periphery, to this, to peripheral nerves, to motor, voluntary, involuntary, involuntary as a sympathetic and parasympathetic, then sympathetic, parasympathetic, also the pacemakers. I have included in bottom left side as the seventh part, and which have control by sympathetic, parasympathetic, also much higher superconscious centralized. You are going to see more detail as we move on hereafter, and that's it. Now same thing is represented this. I'm not going to get into it. I think it's enough for the thing. Thank you very much.